Hey everyone, welcome back. Good morning. So happy you could join me here today for Chit Chatterday. Today I'm going to be putting on some makeup and I'm going to be talking about the craziness that has been the last few months here in my life. So I'm going to be sharing some things that I've been hinting at for the last month or so, but now it's time to talk about it, and so that's what we're going to do. So get yourself some coffee or your breakfast, make yourself comfortable, and let's jump into this. So for my foundation today, I'm going to be trying this sample I got from NARS. She did not write the name on here, so specifically not sure which one this is. I know it's one of the NARS Radiant, might be the Radiant Longwear, I'm not sure, but I wanted to get a sample of a darker color because I've been self-tanning. So this is the shade Sahil Cool. I'm going to try to get this story right. It's just been that crazy that I can't remember the exact turn of events, but let's go back to December 2020. So December 2020 marked the 4-year. We've been here for 4 years, and typically 4 years is about the time where it's time to move. This is the longest we've ever lived anywhere. 3.5 years was the longest time, consecutive time that we lived in any state. And so at 4 years, last summer I was really getting the itch. I was getting the itch to move because I was used to moving every 3.5 years. And so I was really, between like remodeling, Texas heat, and just a bunch of things, I'm just like, you know what? I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to try something different, and I've kind of been saying that the whole time we've been here. It really was an adjustment period for me to get used to Texas. It just was a different landscape than anywhere I've lived. It's always and still is very strange to me to not have winter, to not have some sort of cooler temps for Christmas. I mean, we've had 75-degree Christmas mornings where we're in our really cute flannel pajamas just absolutely sweating to death. And so that's a little bit hard to get used to. And so this whole time we've been here, I've just kind of sort of been ready to leave. Now, after doing remodeling and stuff last summer, I love my house. I've always enjoyed my house, and I love it even more. Yeah, you know, I've been able to pick out the fixtures and change things and make it more my own instead of like that feeling of just kind of renting or temporarily living in a place. In December, they launched this new program in the Air Force where you are able to kind of put bids in for where you'd like to live. Whereas up to this point, it's always been you just get orders, they tell you where to go, and you go. So that was kind of exciting. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. We can at least have a little bit of a say. Like you put a rating on here's where the jobs are, and you just kind of rate, you know, your favorite to perhaps please, please, please don't move me there. And we kind of rated the different areas, and so we did that, and then I was like, okay, I can't wait. When do we get to know? When do we get to know if we're gonna move somewhere, where we're gonna get to go? And so it's kind of that anticipation that we were going through. February rolls around, and they send out a memo that the system's broken, and everything that we did got erased, and some of them places weren't on there anymore. And so I was kind of disappointed because I was like, oh man, there was some cool places, you know, we were really excited to get to go. So that didn't pan out. And keep in mind, it's a new system, so there's going to be a bunch of bugs in it. And so then we re-put in I think it was February. I might be a little off on my dates and my time period because everything's just been a little miscombobulated. And so but it doesn't matter to you. It's just the flow of the story. Okay, so then I want to say it might have been another 6 weeks maybe after that, maybe sometime in March, I think. We hadn't heard back, and it had been a while. And we were told that if we didn't hear anything, that meant we didn't get anything. Like you didn't get chosen for a job during this cycle. Friday afternoon, sometime in March, my husband comes home and he hands me this piece of paper. And I thought, okay, what is this? You know, like some sort of information for bills or something like that. And I open it up, and it's a picture of the state of Idaho. And I'm like, stop. We got it. We're going, like, you got the job. And so I was so excited. Because we really wanted to move to an area we hadn't been to before. I've never lived in the Pacific Northwest. My brother and my parents just retired. Well, my brother didn't retire, but my parents just retired out there. And this would be the closest we've ever been to family since 11 years ago. And so the prospect of getting to be within driving distance and, you know, like, sorry, don't do this while talking. So the prospect of living within driving distance, you know, having holidays together, birthday parties, just like long weekends, you know, things that normal people outside the military get to do was really exciting. And then I kept thinking, oh, date days or date weekends. My husband and I can finally have like some weekends together, and stuff like that. And so it was so exciting. We call my parents and we just kind of hold up the sign through FaceTime and be like, just kind of waiting for them to notice, and they're like, what does that say? And I'm like, we got Idaho. So my husband gets the job. We tell my parents. And, you know, this time around is different for us moving because we own the house we live in. Previous locations we've lived in, we've always stayed in base housing. So we knew going in that this was going to be the biggest move we've ever done because we'd be selling a house while simultaneously buying a house in another state and then figuring out how to move all these things. I mean, the military will move you, but they'll only move up to a certain weight limit. And I know since we bought this house, we have purchased so much stuff. Like buying a house, you have to buy so many things along with it, you know, to maintain, whereas before we didn't need all that stuff because, you know, the base maintained your front yard and stuff like that. So one of the first things we did, aside from getting orders, is hire a realtor because we need someone to sell our house, and we kind of needed, we've never sold a house before because this was the first time we bought here. And so we needed to know, okay, what do we need to do? Is there anything that we need to fix up? And just kind of start to figure out, okay, what could our house sell for, so we can start looking in Idaho to see how we can buy a house there, where we can buy a house there. Keep in mind, real estate right now is insane. Okay, and particularly I watch a lot of real estate videos, investment type videos with real estate, and Boise, Idaho was at that point in time a few months ago like the #1 growing city in the United States for like the last year and a half. Keep that in mind. That means that housing prices have quite literally doubled. The house itself is no better, right? But the price, supply and demand. Okay, so things are nuts there. Absolutely nuts. And this is a whole separate conversation, but any of you who are military, you know how the BH system is set up and how it can be very much off for the area, and that is very much the case in that area. The BAH is vastly, it hasn't had a chance to keep up with the growth of the market, put it that way. So the amount of money that they give you it's a big gap between what things actually cost and what they give you. So we started realizing that selling our house here is going to be a piece of cake. This market here in San Antonio is nuts. And we'll get to that in just a minute. That's the easy part. Buying a house in an area where the prices have doubled, you're paying essentially $400,000 for a house that is barely worth $200,000. I mean, if you go and look in some of the areas there, it's like the houses are in some areas very, very old, and it's just crazy. It's crazy. We started calling and kind of trying to figure out, all right, how can we move there? How can we move there and buy a house? Because we love the idea of having our own space now that we've done this. It's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around going back into renting something after having the freedom of having your own place and doing to it what you want. And it's so different. I mean, we rented for the first, 2016, 7 years. We rented for the first 7 years. We had to. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and so it just wasn't enough money coming in to make a house payment and taxes and all that stuff. We had to. And it really was best for the situation anyways, because when we were living in Colorado, my husband spent more time deployed than he did at home. And so it was nice to be on base and have the playgrounds, and it was secure and it was maintained. And I recommend that if you're raising young children. But anyways, I digress. So we're starting to look at homes in Mountain Home, and we're looking at, okay, maybe we should buy land and build a house. You know, maybe we could stay there for a while, and, you know, we had these, you know, we concocted all these different ideas, and we were just kind of like looking into the different avenues to see what was going to be the best for our family. So it's been about 2 weeks that we know we're moving. We're making steps. You know, we started buying things on this end in preparation for moving, and, you know, hiring a realtor. We had her come here and look through everything, and, you know, all the steps you need to take to prepare. I believe it was I guess it doesn't matter what day it was. It was a few weeks later. I was on the phone with a builder. I got off the phone and my husband comes home and I'm telling him about, okay, here's what he says and here's, I'm just giving him the rundown of all these details of things. And he's like, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm like, why? He's like, the orders got canceled. We were both really disappointed. A, we've been here for 4.5 years. B, it was an opportunity to move to a new state we've never been to. We were and I even tell you this, we were super excited about the lifestyle in Idaho being a little bit more like how we grew up and getting back into, going to different state parks and camping and doing outdoor activities and all the beautiful nature things that are in Idaho, and there's Wyoming and Montana and Oregon and Washington State and all these things. And then we have our family there. And so we were really crushed because I guess I'm kind of going all over the place, but to backtrack, one of the reasons we chose Idaho, besides all those other things, was we were really shocked that Idaho was even an option. Within my husband's career field, his choices of places to live are incredibly limited. This is one of the main ones. And so when we saw Idaho on there in the first place, we were like, what? That's an option? Well, it was an option for a time. It obviously, they canceled the orders and we didn't get it. We're like, okay, fine. Now's not the time. We can be content in knowing now's not the time. And to be frank, buying a house there and paying way more than it's actually worth scared us, okay? And we didn't love the idea of living on base because of the school situation. The base there is 15 miles west of the town, and so I would be either putting my kids on a bus to school, which fine, they've just never ridden a bus and that makes me a little nervous, but it's a possibility, or driving 30 miles, 60 miles round trip every day, bringing them to school and back. And they would be in 2 different schools based on how the schools are laid out there. And there's just all these little details, right? And so I was like, okay, the town we would have been moving to would have been like shock compared to where I'm coming from. Now, not shock compared to how I grew up, but it's been many years since I've lived in such a small, secluded area. I'm used to the amenities of being close to town. And those of you who live near, things or further or in a city, or even if you live a little further out, it's kind of nice to have access without having to drive over an hour and 15 minutes to Costco, or Target. Like, that's a long commute. So there were definite cons of the area, but the pros we felt outweighed the cons. And trust me when I tell you, we've had to adjust to every place that we've lived. So we're no strangers to having to kind of be chameleons and having to just go with the flow and kind of adjust to the area and what it has to offer. It hasn't always been easy, but we are able to do that. About the time that our orders got canceled, my husband was told he might be deploying. Might being he's already on a list and we're just not really sure about the dates. If he's gonna be deploying and we still could possibly get more orders to move, somehow I'll just have to figure it all out. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time where I've had to figure things out without him being here. It just definitely complicates things. So he's on this list, and I would say about a week or so later, he was told he's become a backup. So now he probably isn't going to go because he's a backup, he's an alternate, and so there's no reason to really fear that he's not going to be here. My husband comes home from work again, and he says, so my commander told me that I'm probably going to be here for another couple years, just based upon time in service being 6 years. And I'm like, well, that's funny because we were never told that in the beginning. We thought about 4 years, and I don't even know if they knew that, but anyways, so we were told we're probably going to be here for another couple years. And so we kind of got off our minds about moving to another place, and we're like, okay, well, we'd like to enjoy our home while we're here, or maybe we'd like to upgrade and sell our home since the market is so hot right now, which leads me to here. There are multiple offer situations on every single house here, and people are paying over asking price, and they're waiving inspections. Like, it's chaos. People are paying $15,000, $20,000 over asking price and waiving the inspection. And so selling your house here looks real good because you can sell it very quickly and you're gonna get over asking. And the market here has already increased. So the houses are valued more than they were when we first moved here, but it's grown really steadily. So it's I think it's a very steady growth. It's not an unstable market from what I've gathered. And so we were like, you know what? Maybe we should put our house up for sale and upgrade. You know, we're going to stay here a few more years. We'd like to have a little bit more space. I would love to have a dedicated office space for my husband, and we really would like to have a second living room. Our house is not a huge house, but as soon as you have people come over, it's open concept, so it's like everyone is in the same little room, and there's just no separation between the children and the adults, and it just is kind of a little bit chaotic and not ideal. So we started looking at homes in our neighborhood because we really like where we live. We like our neighborhood. We like the schools being right here and stuff. And so we started looking at homes here. And lo and behold, one came up for sale that it would have needed some work, but we are totally capable and able and willing to put in the sweat equity, as you call it. And we liked the floor plan and things that we couldn't change. We liked, but then of course things we can handle. So we were looking for something that we could upgrade within our realm of expertise, which I wouldn't call it expertise. More like, here's what we've learned from what we've done so far. I'm leaving out some more small details in between all these things because this video would be really long if I went into every single little thing that happened over the last few months, but I'm just kind of hitting the high points. So we put an offer on this house, and she's like, well, you're gonna have to come forward with your best offer because this market is that crazy. There were 7 offers on this house, all of which were at least $15,000 over asking price and then some. And the person that got it, there was even an all cash offer, which is, it has to be investors buying these homes because, I mean, maybe some people have all cash. That we're not in that pool of people. You know, we lost out on the house to someone who waived the entire inspection. They offered just a wee bit more money than us. And like, I just don't think it was the wisest thing to do to waive all inspection because therefore you're buying a house. And if things are wrong with it, well, then that's up to you to fix it. And with him still on this, might be going somewhere, might not be going somewhere, we're like, well, you know, we're not going to be unsmart here, right? We miss out on the house. So we were a little disappointed in that because we were thinking, well, if we're going to be here for a few more years, it would be nice to kind of upgrade into something with a little bit more space. And the way the market is increasing, I think it'll work out just fine because we were thinking the next house we buy, we would turn into a rental property when we move anyways. So would it matter if if we had to turn around and sell, or we wouldn't be turning around and selling it quickly, therefore we wouldn't be losing out on money. So that didn't pan out, which was fine. It just wasn't meant to be. So we're like, well, let's just enjoy the house we have right now. We didn't want to spend another couple months house hunting. We had already been doing that, and we just felt like, well, maybe now isn't the time. Even though it would be great to sell our house and get something else, it's just exhausting to look at homes and then miss out, and then put an offer in and then miss out. And we're like, we have a beautiful home. Let's just enjoy what we have, right? Since you're not going anywhere, how about we make our home just a wee bit better and we put on a deck? Because our backyard it's pretty small backyard, but the only area we have in the backyard to sit on or to stand is an 8x8 concrete slab. And if you're not familiar with how small that is, it's like the size of a closet. Like, it basically holds 2 chairs and a small table, and that is it. Like, standing room only. It was not an entertaining oasis. It just really was a rather small little thing. So let's build a deck. So we've never built a deck before, and I kind of talked about this a little bit, but him and I, quite the undertaking to build a deck. Even just getting the boards home and then having to haul them from the truck all the way around the house into the backyard one by one. Treated lumber is not light, and it was just him and I. I'd say the hardest part about building the deck was the week or weeks we started building it. We've had this unseasonably rainy spring, so we had that obstacle to deal with, and oh my gosh, digging into this ground was insane. Absolutely insane. It was so difficult to dig into impacted. It's basically rock. We live on rock here. So we start building this deck. And every time we go out there each day and every weekend, it's just been raining. So Why that matters is because after we made the decision to start building the deck, my husband gets told he is for sure going to deploy. And so we're like, of course he's going to deploy. He was on the list, then he was off the list, then he was on the list, then he was an alternate. And now he's back on the list and he's for sure going. 2 weeks before he has to deploy, we haven't even started the deck. And we have all the materials and we have all this stuff that we've been slowly accumulating hanging out in the backyard. I'm like, you can't leave with all this mess just sitting out there and the deck is unfinished. And so we worked like dogs to get it done. And it is beautiful. It turned out great. It has been a lovely place to sit outside with the birds. My Mother's Day present was the patio set that is out there, and it's been a great addition to our backyard living space. I realize I have been talking this whole time and we've done like zero makeup. It is not easy to put makeup on and talk at the same time. A couple months time, we have been very busy getting our hopes up, getting them dashed, trying to do this not working out, trying to do this. So we've just come to the conclusion that we're just gonna wait. We're gonna wait. We've tried a couple different avenues. We've tried to make steps in making some changes and none of it came to fruition. So we figure, well, we're just gonna wait at this point. We're still on the list to move. I have no idea if it's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen, where we're gonna go. I feel at the mercy of the Air Force, but that's just how it is, and I kind of feel like I got comfortable. We both have been comfortable. He hasn't deployed since pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, he had done a stint for a time and then that happened and then he didn't go anywhere last year. And so I knew he was gonna, start, on that cycle again. But we just didn't expect it to be right now, considering we thought we were gonna be full on leaving the state. I'm gonna take MAC Wedge. It's a nice, cooler, mid-tone, neutral matte shade, and I'm gonna throw that in my crease. So I kind of feel like we've been put through the ringer a little bit, like emotionally, and that's just part of being in the military. I understand that, and even civilian jobs, I'm sure, there are jobs where you're told you're gonna do this and then you're not, and then you start to do this and then you're told you're not, and things, you start to do something and then it gets canceled and you're like, but I just put in all this effort. And, I kind of felt like, I don't like to be portrayed as a wishy-washy person. I like to make a decision and stand by it, and my word is my word. But having to call a realtor and say yes and then no, and then hire a buying agent to, put offers in a house, and then having to tell her, oh, now my husband just got orders. And it's just kind of like, and then telling them, hey, in the future, we might need your services again. We just don't really know. And I'm sure they're used to it. I mean, this is a military town. There are a lot of military folks here, a lot of people coming and going all the time. It just feels icky to have to be telling somebody something and then have it change. And then you have to tell them no. And I don't know, it's kind of a weird, uncomfortable place, and I don't like to waste people's time. And like I said, I don't like to be portrayed as someone who can't make a decision, especially big decisions such as that. Like, because we were full in, like, okay, let's buy a house here and upgrade. We were willing to put in the work, move locally, and all that stuff. And we still could. I mean, there still is opportunity to. It's called PCA. Just move within the city here to, he'd be in a different squadron. There's still that possibility. And honestly, at this point, anything's a possibility. And I've just really been reminded of, oh yeah, I'm in the military this spring. Mostly because we've been here for a while and I've lived in my own, we've had our own house, and it just doesn't feel on a daily basis like it did previously when you live on base. It's just, we live like civilians. There's actually a lot of military in our community here and even on our street. Just because this is a neighborhood that it's just a really nice neighborhood, and it's, the location is great. So that's a little bit of what's been going on, like the highlights. I gave you the highlight reel, or maybe it was a low light, or the real life reel of what's been going on, and, the emotions, the up and downs, and I didn't even tell you, like, man, this video is going to be all over the place to try to piece together and edit, but sometimes when I give stories, my thoughts go from here to there and everywhere. I didn't even tell you, like, we started the process of, okay, serious decluttering the house, really organizing the house, using up all the food in the freezer, getting all your pantry down to just a couple months worth, because if you're going to be moving, we were supposed to be moving in July. So we got orders in March. We were supposed to be moving in July. So I was like, okay, we got to use up all the canned goods, all the packaged stuff, all the freezers have to be used up and cleaned out. And like, there's this whole process you go through before moving. And we started doing all that. So now I'm like trying to restock the pantry, and I feel like I'm living at the grocery store because I had purposely used everything up. I'm gonna go in with Espresso here by MAC. It's another neutral undertoned, kind of cool toned matte brown. So now I sit here and my kids are almost out of school. My husband's deployed. And we've done summers without him before. I don't prefer it because it's like summertime, you know, we do like fun family activities, the kids are home and go into the pool. Like, I usually am the one who take him to the pool anyways, but it is kind of nice to do it at night with Daddy, and it's just easier when he gets in the pool with them and I don't have to. You know, I don't love swimming at all, but I do it because they like to. And so that brings you up to the current state of affairs. Therefore, I'm going to let you know, it's hard to film videos in the summer anyways, right? I've always said that. It's hard. The kids are home, and there's not always this undivided attention for you, you know, because kids coming in. I mean, my kids are older, granted, but it's still hard to, you know, find the time to do it as much. I'm going to try to continue a routine of at least one video a week of some sort of material. I'm not sure what it's going to be. So if you could let me know in the comments what you really enjoy seeing from me, what you will absolutely watch, because I want to put out what you want to watch. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time, and if no one's watching it, well, why do it, right? I would have to say the military lifestyles really taught me to go with the flow, and I am not a go with the flow type of person per se. I like plans. I like to make plans. I like to know the next step. And so I can't help but, I mean, I like to look at real estate. So I'm always looking on Zillow at the market in different places of where we could live and just kind of seeing what's going on, especially with the real estate being just crazy in a lot of areas. And so I can't help but wonder, okay, well, what's next? You know, because I know there is a next. There's always a next, but I want to know. It's like I just want to know, like, when is it going to be, and where is it going to be, and how can I prepare? Because they're not always generous with a time frame. Even if you get told you're going to go somewhere, it's not always a ton of time to look and prepare. And so it's hard for me because I'd like to know so I can look and prepare, right? And I'm going to go in with this really gorgeous blue color called Moon's Reflection by MAC. I even painted my nails to match. So I think I'm going to throw this on my lid a little bit here. I haven't worn a blue in a long time. And since I really decluttered my collection, I'm trying to make a point to wear all the colors that I have left. I had talked so long that I just decided to finish up my makeup, and everything that I have used I will have linked in the description box below. To kind of wrap up my thoughts and end this on a positive note, I just kind of learned that, you know what? I can't make things happen, and if it's not the right time for things to happen, I can be at peace with that. In the past, I'd be really upset about it and just kind of get into a negative spin about things, but it does remind me of the Bible verse, where in Proverbs, where it says, the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. It's like I can make plans for things to happen, and I can seek out different things, but if it's not the time and God's blessing isn't on it, his hand isn't in it, I don't want to be a part of it. And so we're just kind of resting in the fact that, okay, he's doing his job right now. He's having this opportunity to learn things. He's just doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is, serving in the military and going where they say he needs to be and doing his job. And I am doing my job here in the home and taking care of the children and just enjoying every day that we have. Lately, we've had some beautiful mornings, and I'm just really enjoying my new deck and the blessings that we already have. And, I have griped a lot about living here, and it's taught me a lot about myself, but it's also taught me that, you can make any place a home. you can make any place that you have to live in a home. And home really is your family. I can tell you that firsthand. It's not about the house you live in. It's not about the stuff that you have. Wherever we have gone, God has provided a place for us to live. He has provided us with friends. And I can tell you story after story of people that I have met and people He has brought into my life that I would have never been able to sort out on my own. It's all been greatly ordained. And so I hope you guys got a little bit of encouragement from today's video. Like I said, I'll have all the actual makeup linked below. I have to tell you though, this foundation is gorgeous. It is a beautiful finish. I think it's the long wear, more matte, full coverage. I mean, it's definitely more full coverage than the other things that I've been using. I'm noticing my lip line here is a little wonky, but you know what? Whatever. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll chat again very soon. Bye, guys.